On a Wednesday, May 28th episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, Jessa, 32, said she remembered Joy in particular. It was cute. Who is this guy? She asked herself as she sat there. She would just give us a sidelong glance. The 30-year-old Ben joked that Jessa's siblings could be interested in who the new family member is. I don't think they trusted me as much because I wasn't part of their inner circle or friend group, he stated. I am this enigmatic, extraterrestrial person. As a result, they were generally more cautious and a little suspicious of me. Although the family quickly embraced Ben, Jessa now believes her siblings were simply anxious about the new dynamic in the home. She continued, I was the first daughter to be in a serious relationship, but none of my siblings didn't like him as a person. Ben and Jessa were married in November 2014, over a year after their formal courtship began. The couple currently has 5 children. Spurgeon, Henry, and George are the boys, and Ivy and Fern are the girls. In March, the former star of 19 Kids and Counting revealed that she was expecting her 6th child. During her last interview, Jessa talked about a moment when she envisioned a world in which her partner would be adored and valued by every member of her family. Before I was in a relationship, I'd always thought, when I start getting to know a guy, I want every single one of my 19 siblings to love and adore him and give their blessing and approval and just be BFFs with him, she said. I had this lofty goal in mind. Although Jessa recognized that many of her family members had close ties to Ben, she came to the conclusion that her marriage was the most significant aspect of her life. She realized that not everyone needed to feel the same way she did about her fiancé because she was the one making the marriage proposal. It's a given that no one despises him. If there were genuine concerns, I would have preferred to hear them, but that wasn't the case. Jessa intends to eventually have additional kids. She also has a lot of gratitude for her husband, who has been a wonderful father and friend. For everyone, Ben Seewald's arrival into the Duggar family's world wasn't love at first sight. Jessa Duggar was smitten with the quiet, devout child from Hot Springs, Arkansas, but not everyone in her infamously protective family felt the same way. Ben and Jessa appeared to be a strong couple after over a decade of marriage and 5 kids. But during the beginning of their courtship, a number of Duggar family members were privately unsure if Ben was the right fit for Jim Bob and Michelle's most self-reliant daughter. A non-traditional partner. Introducing the Duggars. Ben Seewald is a 17-year-old young man. 20-year-old Jessa was starting to establish herself as one of the more outspoken and rebellious Duggar girls. Although many fans like the idea of the two falling in love, insiders say there was concern behind the scenes about how quickly Ben was incorporated into the story. He didn't come from a big family, nor did he have the ultra-conservative upbringing of the Duggars. Despite being a devout Christian, Ben was less involved in the Institute for Basic Life Principles (IBLP), which served as the foundation for the Duggars' norms for courtship, modesty, and gender roles. Jim Bob, the family's father, is said to have noticed it. According to a family acquaintance, Jim Bob was quite curious. It was the first time he had ever seen a man so young and from such a varied cultural background. Ben wasn't raised the same way, which made some of his family members uneasy. My objectives and age. Early on, questions were raised concerning Ben's age. Not yet out of high school, he began conversing to Jessa at the age of 17. Their courtship didn't start until he was 18. Ben's youth could have been a warning sign for his family, who valued financial stability and maturity over marriage. One of the Duggar family's friends admitted that he was still figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. Concerns were raised about his employment choices and how he would provide for a family. He wasn't quite ready, according to several of his older siblings. However, Jessa didn't appear to mind at all. From the beginning, she supported Ben's moral character and maturity. She often praised about his comforting demeanor, commitment to scripture, and unwavering views on 19 Kids and Counting. Sources close to the Duggar family claimed that Michelle Duggar and a number of her siblings privately expressed reservations about the match. Jim Bob's constant eye. As with other courtships, Ben and Jessa's romance was carefully monitored by the Duggars. In-person meetings, phone chaperones, and text monitoring were all prohibited. But according to rumors, Jim Bob went over and beyond with Ben. According to the informant, Jim Bob was completely entangled. He watched Ben carefully. There was a rise in inquiries and debates about religion, responsibility, and leadership. He was worried that Ben may compromise his morals in order to pursue fame. No one could see that Ben was bothered by the attention. Quiet and collected, he rarely resisted, and he worked hard to gain the family's trust. Because of his frequent theological discussions with the Duggars, project help, and volunteer labor, he soon won the esteem of the patriarch Jim Bob. An invocation and enduring doubts. In 2014, with Jim Bob's approval, Ben asked Jessa to marry him. However, rumors have it that not everyone was ecstatic just yet. Many Duggar family members were still unsure about Ben's future intentions and whether he would fit in with the Duggar way of life. As one family member put it, he was always respectful, but he also held views that were different from those of the Duggars. People expressed worries about possible future conflicts, especially with regard to the possible effects on children. However, tensions did surface in the years that followed, particularly when Jessa and Ben quietly turned away from the IBLP philosophy and ceased attending Duggar family gatherings. Their early marriage may have been the catalyst for this shift as they started to voice more nuanced views on religion, modesty, and parenthood. The unwavering devotion of Jessa. Jessa remained steadfast in her loyalty to Ben in spite of everything. Even when some members of her family expressed mild misgivings, she remained steadfast in her dedication to her spouse and her readiness to establish limits. Jessa Duggar was renowned for being one of the Duggar family's more vocal daughters. She and Ben were the first members of her family to openly embrace as an engaged couple, and they were open about having long conversations when no one else was around to hear them. By displaying a more laid-back and confident manner throughout their courtship, they set the stage for later Duggar siblings to approach partnerships. Jessa made it clear that Ben was her choice, according to a relative. No one could stop her, not even her parents or siblings. He had unshakable trust. Getting past doubt and accepting. As time passed, many skeptics started to question Ben's piety as a husband and father. After that, he studied theology, preached, and rose to prominence in his church. Unlike her siblings, he and Jessa now raise their children in a more subtle, modern manner, staying out of the spotlight while interacting with their admirers on the internet. Ben has made a name for himself in the Duggar family's history, even in the face of criticism from followers who are still fixated on the family. Ben isn't loud, and he doesn't care about fame, according to a Pairs insider. The dude is trustworthy. It took some of his family members some time to realize that different does not always mean wrong. He was just different. Final thoughts. From doubt to dedication. In retrospect, the early misgivings about Ben Seewald were motivated more by concerns about age, ambition, and whether or not a person outside of the Duggar mold could truly fit the pattern than by scandal.